Hi guys, welcome back to another GGF video. Today we're going to do a quick video on installing custom cables that you've purchased from a sort of a professional sleeving company to get some nice looking cables in your system. So what I've gone with the cables here today, I've got some from ModGuru. So Martin, who runs ModGuru, has shouted it out to me to do a video on installing these cables and the best way to get these, the best way to go, and sort of some tips on purchasing them, because he's had a few customers sort of asking about them, a few inquiries and things like that. So what I'm going to do is go through some things like the lengths, which way to get the connector, things like getting the curve in the cable and whatnot. Right, so this is the build here I'll be installing these cables in. I'll go on with some blue and white colored cables. Now your options for cables are pretty much endless. You can do any color, mix and match. So you sort of aren't limited to sort of your standard, more sort of solid colors here like your older sleeve cables. So what I've done is I've just thrown some normal sleeve cables in there because I had this system running, just running before. So what I'll do now is I'll go through some of the things like the length. Now for a case like this, you do need quite long cables, only because the video cards are sort of out in the middle of nowhere. For a conventional case, you don't need them quite as long. So the cables I got, I opted for the one video card to do 45 centimeters, then 40 and 35 centimeters. Now, bear in mind, the longer you get the cables, the more they will cost. But I knew that with this S-frame, they do need quite long cables, only because you don't want to have your extension cable being joined on the power supply somewhere where you can see it. You want it out of the way. Now, bear in mind, these cables I'm installing today are extensions. So these plug into the already cable that's on the power supply. These don't go into the power supply directly. Now, you can get those done to go into modular power supplies, but bear in mind they will cost a bit more, and you do need to get them a lot longer, as you'll have to continue going through the back of the case and then into the power supply. Now, something else to look at when you're getting some custom cables done is getting a curve in the cable. You can normally get it with or without, and you can see, I'll use the 24 pin for an example. You can see that this has a nice curve in it. So when I put this in the bottom here, it's going to nicely wrap around. But you just have to bear in mind that you get your curve the right way, you get the latching switch, because you don't want to do it so you got the latching switch in and it curves up this way, because if you try to bring this back down now, it just won't curve right. So that is a very vital step you need to sort of confirm when doing that. But most of the times the companies will ask you now what motherboard are you using, what video cards and things like that. So they do help you out. Now something else you can look at is getting cable combs installed on your cables. I normally always do that. I just get about 2. I don't get too many, and I normally always stick with clear. So it might be hard to see, but there are 2 on here already, and that just keeps it nice and neat. I normally only keep them up around the top and so on. Now one more thing to look at with these the latching sort of connector on the top of the plug here, especially with video cards, and in an orientation like this, I'm sort of got a little bit more relaxed setup because I can do these 2 ways. At the moment, these will be going this way. That's the way that the curve is formed. But because I got these long enough, I can also form these to go like this and curve around the back and go into a sort of the back hole like this. But bear in mind, if you do have a smaller case and you are running smaller lengths cables, you don't really have as much playroom to sort of twist the cables the opposite way. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to throw the GPU cables in, and I'll show you sort of which way I went and why I went that way. All right, now we've got the GPU cables in. That took a bit longer than I expected, only because this case is a bit tricky, because you've only really just got 2 ways you can route these cables: back, behind, up like in here, or over this way. I tried each way, and I feel that this way was the best. Now, bear in mind, your case is going to be different. It'll probably be a conventional case where they'll just run down, and you can run them sort of down at the bottom, or you can run them around the motherboard tray. I did try running them all this way, but I just found it just sort of cluttered up this area too much. So I actually decided not to use the cable combs up the top here. I've just pushed them down lower, because once you have all the cable combs up here, it sort of starts to sort of separate the cables a bit, and I wanted them sort of to stay together. So I ended up going sort of like this. I did have to put a zip tie at the back here to hold these together, and I put a few zip ties along the back where you can't see it, to sort of clean it up and lift it up a bit. Because bear in mind, I do have the 3 fans here, down here, so without any sort of support with the zip ties, they did just sort of sit down on the fans, but they're sort of just raised enough, and I do sort of like that curve, and it does look nice. Now moving on to the 24 pin, this one will be pretty straightforward. We'll just pull this one out here. Now with this InWin S frame, it does have a really tight radius for your 24 pin. So it's good to just, what I normally do with this one, and this is probably like most cases as well, where your 24 pin is going to be up on the side of your sort of top right of the motherboard tray, and you normally just sort of bend it around. And this is where it's important to get the latch and the curve orientated correctly. I'm pretty sure most motherboards these days, you'll have the clip of the connector will be pointing towards the edge of the board. I don't think I've seen a board for a while where it's the other way around. Alright, now we'll just clip this in like so, spin it around. Alright, and then I can just simply clean that up once that's done. Push that there. Alright, so that looks good there. And now it sort of keeps it separated, having this cable like this and then these over here. So it's good that these are separated. And now we'll just do the EPS connector for your 8-pin motherboard. Now this one is a little bit tricky on this case, only because for one, the case, it doesn't really have a dedicated area. You can either just pop it through one of these holes or over the top. And with this motherboard, it makes it a little bit harder because the EPS connector is right down here, sort of at the middle. So it does make it a sort of a long reach. So I'm just going to quickly route this now. Okay, so now you can see I've fixed in the 24-pin motherboard connector in a bit better, and I've also routed the EPS 8-pin motherboard connector. Now I decided to go on a slight little angle for the 24-pin just to sort of contrast with these on the angle here, and I've also gone with a slight angle on the EPS as well, just to sort of keep that perspective throughout. Now if you're wondering how it's the best way to get these cables to stay like this in the nice format rather than just sticking them around the back, I do like to use these little sort of clips. They're adhesive. You just peel them off. They will stick onto pretty much any surface, and they actually just have a sort of a 4-dimensional hole that you can just slide in a zip tie, and you can get them in black, in white, any sort of color you want for your build. So I find them really strong. If you're doing a really thick cable, sometimes like your 24-pin, you can use 2 of them, and that's the best way to get the positioning exactly right, because sometimes there's just no way you can just freely hang a cable to make it stay in the exact spot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can see, I've got all those cables in. This system is pretty much done. I will be doing a final photo shoot on this. I'll do a final video and sort of a mod build video covering this build as well. So I just want to thank ModGuru for sending out the cables for this build, and anyone out there who is looking at ordering a set from ModGuru, I highly recommend them. I think I've got these on most of my builds now, never had an issue. So I hope this video helps out, and thanks for watching.